I believe in the inherent worth of every person on this earth. In the interdependent web of everything in the universe. Doesn't matter much what you know. It's what you believe. It's what you believe. Don't believe much of what you hear, not much more of what you see and read. We gather pebbles of knowledge along the shore of an endless sea. Doesn't matter much what you know. It's what you believe. It's what you believe. Well, I know my name, and I know that I was born. I know the sun is gonna rise up tomorrow morning. But there will surely come a day when the sun it will not rise, and all assumptions will be shattered. But our faith will survive. There's a spark of the fire mist burning deep within your soul. And if you truly believe in yourself, that tiny spark can light the world. Doesn't matter much what you know. It's what you believe. It's what you believe. I believe in the inherent worth of every person on this earth. In the interdependent web of everything in the universe.
Good morning, and welcome to the online service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook. My name is Deede Cook, and I am pleased to be acting as your worship associate today. Our service leader this morning is our minister, Margie Allen. Our director of religious education is Deb Little, who just wrapped up our children and youth program that takes place each Sunday morning from 9:45 to 10:15. I would like to offer a special welcome to anyone who is joining us for the first time this morning. We hope that something in today's service rings true to you, moves you, and brings you back. Our services do vary in style and content, so we hope you will visit us more than once to get a true sense of who we are as a community of faith. Ours is a liberal religion. Liberal in the sense that we are open to new ideas, that we do not adhere to a single fixed creed, and that we share a commitment to social justice. We are guided by 7 principles and multiple sources of inspiration. You will find more information about this on our webpage, UUFSB.org. Please plan to stay with us following the service for a few minutes of virtual social time. You can say hello and wave to all the nice people in the little boxes. Afterwards, if you wish to move into a smaller chat room for deeper conversation, you can go to our website, UUFSB.org, or yesterday's news feed, click on Small Group Chats, and you will be transported to a room with 5 or 6 friendly people who look forward to chatting with you. It's a wonderful way to connect with others. And for those of you who are visiting us for the first time, it's a splendid opportunity for you to find out more about who we are, what we stand for, and why this community is so important to each one of us. Thank you all, and welcome to our fellowship.
Welcome indeed. I sound our bell this morning, summoning all joy, all sorrow, every fear, every angry word burning in you, every pool of regret, every pulse of longing and love, every hope that you carry in your heart this morning. In this sound, all sounds. In this circle, all circles.
I'm sorry, Deede, but you're muted. Could you unmute, please?
I invite you to light a candle or a chalice at home as I light mine. We can think of our candles as beacon lights or as blinker lights. Our chalice lighting this morning is an excerpt from a poem called Spilling the Light by UU Minister Reverend Teresa I. Soto. Boldly you must hang your light, neon, buzzing, bright. And do not be chagrined when your light blinks. It is a silent song of yes, you are welcome here. Boldly give your love and arrive at your joy.
You are welcome here. Good morning, my sweet friends. Oh, how I miss you. I miss the sound of your voices mixing, drifting across the sanctuary. I miss your faces in the chairs. I miss sitting with you over coffee and snacks. I miss the tidbits about your life that you share when we grab a moment together here or there or in passing. I miss the ways your bodies and mine meet, at times in a hug or a pat on the shoulder, hand in hand, our heads bent together in the after-service din or across the meeting table. It's easy to feel lost right now, like colorful balloons released from a child's hand, drifting apart, up and out. And yet, here we are, in the place where who knew that hidden hand still holds the strings, as long as they might need to be, as high and far as we might feel ourselves floating among the clouds. Here we remember we are anchored for the long haul. Anchored here in love, in trust, in fellowship, in commitment, in search for what is true and the meaning that we together are going to make of it. So Let yourself be reeled in now, back into the bright bouquet of lives we are, even in this empty-seeming virtual sanctuary. Our friends Deede and Peter lead us now in the singing of hymn 293, O Star of Truth, which reminds us of the rigors of our pursuit of truth, the path we blaze together here, the path we blaze alone amidst all our own life's challenges.
O star of truth down shining through clouds of doubt and fear, I ask beneath thy guidance my pathway may appear. However long the journey, however hard it be, though I be lone and weary, lead on, I follow thee. I know thy blessed radiance can never lead astray, though ancient creed and custom may point another way, or through the untrod desert, or over trackless sea. Though I be lone and weary, lead on, I follow thee.
I invite you now into a time of meditation, reflection, prayer. I'll offer some words to think about, a little time in silence to let those words blossom. And then a beloved prayer I hope you'll join in singing, Spirit of Life. Teresa Inés Soto is a queer Unitarian Universalist minister who uses a wheelchair to get around. They are the senior minister of First Unitarian Church of Oakland, California, and the author of a book of poems called Spilling the Light, Meditations on Hope and Resilience. Deede's chalice lighting was from the titular poem. The poem I want to offer you for your meditation is called Everything is Still on Fire. This poem believes in you and in us. Everything is still on fire despite your best efforts. In addition to living, it is clear that fire or not, you must level up in what it means to thrive. Right now, that means wrestling with the truth, the fact that everything is not all your fault. I'm sorry that everything is still on fire. Once hate catches, the winds of not my problem blow, and the blaze is hard to stop. But hard is not impossible. Not yet is different than never. You in community have an answer. You have a response to systems of power and control and to the cost of suffering. You and your community together are the answer. You are not only a people of flame, but also a people of cold, clear truth. You know both where you fall short and where you flourish, and where you still reach. Everything is still on fire, but all is not lost. You remain more nimble than steadfast, more unshakable than swayed by the latest rage. You are here to put out the ravenous flames and heal the world. Enough is enough. I leave you now in what quiet and peace you may gather around you, my valiant people of the flame we keep. May an encouraging word be heard.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We support and sustain our fellowship through gifts of time, talent, and money. For us, giving is a spiritual practice. Each month, we share the plate with an organization devoted to social justice. This month, we are sharing the plate with Bethel Hobbs Community Farm. The farm sits on 11 acres of farmland in Suffolk County, the heart of Long Island. It is a volunteer-based ministry partnering with the Bethel AME Church. They provide wholesome produce to those in need through a network of food pantries and soup kitchens. Hobbs Farm is the last farm in Center Reach and the last African-American family farm on Long Island. The vision behind the Bethel Hobbs Community Farm is to restore the land to its original use, to create a permanent retreat and education center, and to honor the Hobbs family legacy. Times are tough now. Many people are suffering financial hardship. So, for those of you who can, please be generous in your donations to the fellowship and to our social justice partners. We depend upon your gifts and your pledge payments to support the good work we do together. We deeply appreciate your contributions, your commitment, and your generosity.
All I can say is mercy me. Whatever happened to the truth? It feels like some form of insanity. Total lack of proof means it must be true. Looking out across the great divide, it's hard to see the common ground. With no shared facts to give us purchase, we're only going round and round. When you worship false gods, they say you are right to hate your neighbor if they don't agree with your point of view. Those neighbors are threats to your faith, your truth, even your freedom. The enemies are demonized, anger is magnified. Lies cast as truth can never set you free. They only form the ties that bind you to an alternate reality. Only truth can free your mind. All I can say is mercy, mercy me. The truth ain't what it used to be. Tired of all these fake conspiracies. Total lack of proof means it must be true. When you worship false gods, they say you are right to hate your neighbor if they don't agree with your point of view. Those neighbors are threats to your faith, your truth, even your freedom. The enemies are demonized, anger is magnified. All I can say is mercy, mercy me.
Two parables this morning from the Jewish tradition, as told by Rabbi David Wolpe and embellished by Margie. The first is the bullseye and the arrow, and the second is a parable from Beatrice Weinreich's collection of Yiddish folk tales. The most famous spinner of tales in the Jewish tradition was the 18th century rabbi Jacob ben Ze'ev Krantz. He was called the Margie, the storyteller, of Dubno in Lithuania. The rabbi's friend, a great scholar, asked him once why he always answered questions with stories. The Margie explained, "Once there was a prince who wanted to become a master of archery. One day, he happened to be passing through a village in the midst of an archery contest. Fascinated, he stopped to watch the marvelous skill of the contestants. One in particular had an uncanny knack for hitting the target. The prince asked for his secret. "Oh, it's simple," the man answered. "First, I shoot the arrow, and wherever it lands, I paint the bullseye around it." "You see," the Majid continued, "I do much the same thing. If I have a good story, I paint a biblical verse around it so it fits." In recounting this story, the modern-day Rabbi David Wolpe agreed with the Majid's strategy. "A parable helps me hit the bullseye more often," he said. And then, to further illustrate his point, he told another parable. "Once upon a time, Truth went about the streets as naked as the day he was born. As a result, no one would let him into their homes. Whenever people caught sight of him, they turned away or fled. One day, when Truth was sadly wandering about, he came upon Parable. Now, Parable was dressed in splendid clothes of beautiful colors. And Parable, seeing Truth, said, "Tell me, neighbor, what makes you look so sad?" Truth replied bitterly, "Ah, brother, things are very bad, very bad. I am old, very old, and no one wants to acknowledge me. No one wants anything to do with me." Hearing that, Parable said, "People don't run away from you because you are old. I too am old, very old. But the older I get, the better people like me. I'll tell you a secret. Everyone likes things to be disguised and prettied up a bit. Let me lend you some splendid clothes like mine, and you will see that the very people who pushed you aside will invite you into their homes and be glad of your company." Truth took Parable's advice, and from that time on, everywhere Truth went, he was welcomed with open arms. When Truth was dressed in Parable's clothes, people seemed able to take in even his most challenging message.
I feel sorry for Truth right now. Big T truth and its component little t truths. And I feel sorry for us that truth comes to us in such a strange costume these days that we don't recognize them. I'm going to use the pronoun they, them, theirs for truth. Seems fitting to think of truth as plural and queer. It used to be that truth more often came dressed appropriately in one of Parable's wraparound stories, a story that revealed in a clear, honorable, vetted, and sometimes stunning manner the essence of truth's message. Lately, though, it seems that the costume has become the message. Truth shrunk in the look to some trivial detail, a button or a tissue in the pocket. I have to say I like my truth naked, or as Teresa Soto put it, cold and clear. I want to be able to trust that the bullseye was there before the arrow hit it, that the teller of truth had a good eye and skill and a steady hand and a good score overall. You know, there have always been in our public life plenty of lies and plenty of liars to tell them. But lies in purposeful development as weapons of mass destruction in our civic life since the 1950s have now been successfully deployed on a national scale, and the impact has rocked our democracy. Boston College historian Heather Cox Richardson outlined the development process in an article in Salon in 2015. It starts with William F. Buckley attacking the idea that voters should engage with facts openly debated in public, the kind of public discernment that produced the New Deal reforms of the 1930s, business regulation, improvements to infrastructure, and a social safety net. Buckley vigorously promoted a return to the free market economy, investment in bootstrap individualism, and a society based in religious, soon to become family values. It was he and his brother-in-law who divided us into liberals and conservatives, labeling political liberals as socialists who were gaining ground in America through their control of universities and also the media in particular. Thus began a relentless drive to undermine the Federal Communication Commission's 1949 Fairness Doctrine, regulations that required television and radio programs to cover all controversial issues with balance and fairness. The FCC revoked the rule finally in 1987. And soon after that, talk radio began to reinforce the idea, as Dr. Richardson puts it, that America was falling apart as capital L liberals backed big government programs that redistributed the tax dollars of hardworking white men to women and minorities, replacing individualism and religion with socialism, end quote. We know the story from there. The power of the fabrications of talk radio, the power of the denial of the merits of the scientific process, of blindness to our nation's failures and vulnerabilities have gradually infiltrated our public and private discourse, the processes of debate and negotiation in Congress, and lately, the speech and machinations of the president of our country. Lies have become the new truth. They are true, quote, true, only because they resonate with the feelings of a targeted population. They are strategic, and they are successful in that strategy. Their obvious falseness to the rest of us is of no concern at all to the liar. The lies remain true regardless of evidence to the contrary. Any kind of fact-checking, any expert debunking. And in remaining impervious to correction, they obscure and devalue truth themselves, that dear and worthy truth for whom I feel sorry right now. This probably seems like an extreme analysis. I've had to leave out much of my understanding of how we got here because virtual brevity. But I imagine you would agree that we are here and that it is not a good thing at all. In a societal field in which a lie cannot be distinguished from a truth, there can be no argument. If there can be no argument, then there can be no democracy. If there can be no democracy, then what will rush into the empty space of how we manage our common life is power in various unsavory forms, fueled by money and greed. And that is what we are witnessing. So, why am I talking about politics on a Sunday morning? At the heart of politics, how we function as a national body, is the fourth principle of our list of 7 principles, the keystone of the 7, when you bend it into an arch, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Who are we? Who is included in that we? What is our purpose in the world? What do we need? What values guide us? How shall we live? How will our decisions be made? You've been asking yourself those same questions since your first cry for milk. We in this fellowship continue to engage that search in our free, liberal, religious tradition. Free and responsible. Our representatives in government, our judges, our police, our military, our news reporters, our teachers, our economists, our scientists, all of them should be asking these questions of themselves on their own search together and in the overlaps between their groups. This is the collective search, the responsible search we join in together, in which our individual freedom is limited by our obligations to others and to the earth. The human search for truths that make life fruitful and fair, and the meaning we make of the process of our evolution as individuals and as a society is a sacred enterprise. Our integrity as groups and individuals on the search for truth and meaning is the foundation for a fair and inclusive and sustainable life on earth. If we can't trust our president, the judiciary, our congressional representatives, the scientific community, the history textbook, the police, our military leaders, if we can't trust these and other socio-political institutions to operate from shared values and shared facts, then America really will fall apart. The experiment of this young country will fail. It's a matter of anyone's faith, including ours, to make a commitment to live life hand in hand with truth. And right now, that means demanding integrity and honesty not only from yourself, but from the various cohorts to whom we entrust our democracy. I'll close with some spiritual practices that support both. Put pressure on members of Congress who promote obvious lies and their colleagues who do not challenge them. Work for the reinstatement of something like the fairness doctrine in news reporting and some kind of meaningful controls on social media. Pass on to others, friends and family, only current information that you have confirmed in several reliable sources. Otherwise, you are an instrument of propaganda. Download the January 2021 Media Bias Chart. It's version 7.0. We'll give you a link a little bit later on. Download that so that you know where your preferred sources of information fall. Do your patriotic best to model truthfulness, temperance, decency, and integrity in your daily life among your family and your friends and your colleagues at work. Remember that the main point of gathering information isn't to reaffirm the views you already hold, but to challenge them. And finally, and maybe even most importantly, find ways to bring people who look and think differently than you into your life. Since the 1950s, our general prosperity and relative status quo in the United States has encouraged many of us to turn a blind eye to what is going on in Washington, D.C. and in our local governments. Right now, an alarm bell is ringing wildly. Let it penetrate our sleep as a nation and wake us to that old-fashioned thing called duty, called patriotism, called attending to the common good. Our closing hymn is an echoing wake-up call like that. Wake now, my senses. We're going to be singing on our own with Bethany's lovely piano, a short introduction. I know we've had the luxury lately of singers to lead us, but you know, it takes time and energy, more time and energy than any of us who aren't musicians really know, I'm sure, to set down those tracks of melody and harmony. Sometimes we just need to be kind, to give them a break. But please sing anyway. I just want to take a second at the beginning of closing words to thank Pat Killian for his singing today. It is lovely to hear his voice after his move away from us several years ago. But I also wanted you to know that he wrote all those songs, and the offertory was written just for this service, and it was marvelous to hear. So thank you, Pat. I listened during this week to a series on WBUR Boston's On Point called Why Truth Matters. I commend the series to you. The link is going into the chat right now. And while I'm at it, I also highly recommend Heather Cox Richardson's Letter from an American and her video posts on Facebook and YouTube. Some of them lectures about things like Reconstruction and a history of the Republican Party, which are fascinating and put the pieces together of the history that we need to know for right now. Her historically lit summaries of current affairs are just golden. Okay, so closing words from Christopher Beam, who spoke in the last of the 4 segments of the On Point series. Well, you know, democracy is hard. It requires things of you that are unnatural. It requires you to be passionate and yet temperate. It requires you to accept the idea that this person with whom you disagree vehemently has as much right to their opinion and as much right to express it as you do. And the other thing it requires of you is a commitment to reflect your perspectives accurately, honestly. And it means hearing things or being concerned about the world as it is, rather than the world you want it to be. And none of these things are easy. And all I can tell you is that in a democracy, we are all responsible. We are all sovereign. It's not any one person's job to run it. It's all of ours. And so that means we all just have to commit to some things that are hard. And the truth is hard. Our biases push us in directions that make us disinclined to listen to things we don't agree with, the things we don't like. And so it's only through a kind of personal commitment to the truth that any of this can be undone. And there's so many things pushing us the other way right now. Christopher Beam.
As the end of the service draws near, and as I prepare to extinguish the chalice, I read the words of Wayne B. Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone.
Thank you, Deede. In closing, a fragment of a poem by Denise Levertov called Matins, Matin, Mornings. Truth is not an easy companion. These are my words. Truth is not an easy companion. It's everywhere, yet difficult to recognize, terrible sometimes, and a source of joy. Levertov writes, marvelous truth, confront us at every turn, in every guise. Iron ball, egg, dark horse, shadow, cloud of breath on the air, dwell in our crowded hearts, our steaming bathrooms, kitchens full of things to be done, the ordinary streets. Thrust close your smile, that we may know you, terrible joy. Amen.